guys, it's Maggie, Just Enough Eyes. Today I wanted to do a review on the MAC powders that I've tried for years that I really enjoy, and I wanted to help kind of explain some differences between the powders if you are new to MAC or just trying to figure out which powder and why. Now, I actually like all three of these powders, and I use them differently or together for many different reasons. So we'll be going through the MAC Blot Powder, the MAC Studio Fix Powder Plus Foundation, and the MAC Mineralized Skinfinish Natural. So for me, my skin type has always been pretty combination oily. Now that I'm 30, thankfully my skin is less oily. It's slowed down the oil production a bit, and I also can attribute that to a really good skincare routine over the years. I started when I was like 18, 19, doing really steady skincare of cleansing, moisturizing, using serums, using creams. And I think the more I have improved the moisture in my skin, the less oil it's producing. And as you age anyways, you do lose some of the oil production from your skin. But for me, that's been a good thing. So especially going back years ago when I wanted my foundation to last all day, I wanted a really matte finish to my skin. Especially like 5 years ago, the trends were really much like full coverage, almost like Instagram glam, no shine whatsoever. Like everyone wanted a super matte finish. So I tried the Blot Powder. This is in the shade Medium, which is my go-to shade. Now, these ones are very translucent powders. So they do have a few shades. There's light, medium dark, dark. I think that's it. So there's just a few shades. They are pretty much a translucent powder as long as you pick a powder that's close to your skin color. They really don't give you much color payoff at all. But what it does, it kind of creates a very sheer veil that almost like blurs the skin a tiny bit, and it really absorbs oil very well. Now, the Studio Fix Powder Plus Foundation, it's always claimed to be like really mattifying, great coverage, 12-hour matte look. Now on my skin, whenever I tried using this powder, my skin would get very oily. And now I don't know if that's mostly just me. I do feel like this powder, the Studio Fix Powder Plus Foundation, it's quite a bit more of a drying feeling. So I think partially on my skin, when I was putting a lot of this powder on, the Studio Fix Powder Plus Foundation, I think partially it was like taking all the oils out of my skin, or just like almost feels like a clay mask at times if you use a lot of this powder. So my skin would feel pretty dry with this powder on, and I think it would produce more oil to try to compensate. Whereas with the Blot Powder, that one I can apply in the morning, I can reapply to touch up through the day, and I don't feel like my skin is getting dried out or it feels itchy or anything like that. So I've had kind of a hit and miss relationship with the Studio Fix powder. It is the most well-known powder that MAC sells. It's been huge. What's so good about this powder is the coverage that you can get. You can apply it very lightly on like a really fluffy brush and get super nice natural coverage, but the more you pack it on with more of a dense brush or the sponge that it comes with underneath, there'll be like a little compartment that you can see under your powder. So if you're using the sponge especially, you're going to be applying a lot of product, packing it on. You'll see more color as well, like more coverage. But yeah, to me, this one, what I found works for me is not applying a really heavy amount of this powder. So I generally will just do a light coat of this to give me a bit more coverage if that's what I'm looking for. And then what I do, what's worked for me, is using the Blot Powder over top on my T-zone where I feel like I get more oily, and I feel like that's the perfect balance for me. For Studio Fix powder, I used to use the shade NW18. So that's one that I'm hit pan on, which is the more rosy tone. But the more I've like gotten better with my makeup and like understanding my skin color, I actually have more of like a yellow tone to my skin, especially like on my neck. And I do have some rosiness on my face, but that's more like redness or sensitivity on my skin. So it actually looks better when I go over with more of a yellow tone to bring my face down to the shade of my neck. So this is NC20, which is a more warm tone, and that's been working really well for me. Another thing that's confusing with MAC is that they flip their color wheel. So NW Neutral Warm 18 is actually like the neutral pink color, which in makeup theory, pink is cool. So that's something to kind of wrap your head around, I guess. So NC Neutral Cool is actually the more neutral yellow warm tone. So yeah, so I've been using NC20 and I do enjoy that. And for me now that I'm not working in makeup, I'm doing more of a natural look on myself on a daily basis. So I've been really enjoying using a light coat of Studio Fix on days where I want a little bit more coverage without using a liquid foundation. The third powder is the Mineralized Skinfinish Natural, which comes in a slightly different looking packaging. So that's the Studio Fix, about the same size compact, but you can see the difference in packaging. And this is what it looks like. So the Mineralized Skinfinish Natural is a really nice powder if you want more of a natural finish to your skin. It does give you a light coverage, so I feel like these three powders, I like having them all on hand because the Blot Powder is my sheer, don't want coverage, just need a matte finish. The Studio Fix is nice when I need some coverage, when I want to even out my skin tone, when I want more of a matte finish. Another really important thing with the Studio Fix, this does give a very matte finish, especially when you first apply it. And some people don't like that because it can look a little cakey, especially if you have like foundation on already, you go in with a lot of powder, it looks like a lot. So what I would definitely recommend with that is using the Fix Plus setting spray. So you can spray this over top and that adds moisture to your powder. It helps it look more like skin and not look as dry to begin with. And that's another thing that's really worked for me, especially with using that powder. As I said, my skin can feel dry when I use quite a bit of that. So going in with the Fix Plus has made it that it can feel pretty balanced on my skin. It doesn't irritate my skin, and my skin is just more sensitive. I just, you know, it's very sensitive to like having too many powders on it or too much foundation. It can cause breakouts for me. So a lot of people won't have those issues, but for sure, like if you want the coverage of that powder, but if you feel like it looks too dry or if it's clinging to dry patches, I would definitely use the setting spray over top. So the Mineralized Skinfinish Natural is a light coverage. It's more of a satin finish. So I'm not sure if you'll be able to tell, but it's not completely flat and matte. It does reflect the light a little bit. If you look really close, it almost looks like it has a tiny bit of a shine. So it kind of reflects the light off your face, which is really nice. It makes the skin look really like healthy and youthful. Because it's not too much coverage as well, it gives a really nice natural finish. This is one that if your skin's more dry or if you're if you're of a more mature skin type, this can be a really nice one that won't look or feel as much like powder on your skin. There is a price difference between all these powders and they do have different amounts of product. So the Blot Powder right now is $38 in Canada. And this comes with 12 grams of product. And when you purchase this one, you do get a little fluffy sponge. And I really like that because I'll always have one of these in my makeup bag or like my purse with me so that I can easily touch up with the sponge on the go. And the Studio Fix powder is $40 currently. This one does give you more product though. You get 15 grams of product. And this one comes with that sponge underneath. And Mac does sell replacement sponges as well for that powder. So I would definitely not recommend using just the one sponge your whole time with this powder, because essentially what you're doing is you're taking the product, you're putting it on your face. Even if your skin is clean, you probably have a fresh moisturizer or serum on your face, and you'll be taking that oil and putting it back on your powder, which can create a layer and kind of ruin your product. So you definitely want to be kind of switching the side of your sponge as you're using it, and then getting replacement sponges if that's your main method of application, versus using sponges, versus using brushes where you can clean them in between uses. And the Mineralized Skinfinish Natural is $45, so this is the most expensive. And this one you get 10 grams of product, so you don't get as much. And when you first purchase this one, it does actually come in more of a dome shape. So that's kind of my explanation and review. I hope it wasn't too confusing. I do really like all these powders. I do use them quite often, and I do mix and match. So some days when I want more of like a glowy, dewy look, I'll just go in with the Mineralized Skin Finish, maybe apply a bit of blot powder right on my T-zone where I do tend to get a bit more oily. The Studio Fix I like, sometimes I use it just very lightly, sometimes I'll apply it a little heavier to build up coverage in certain areas. And the blot powder, that one is just really, really nice for me. It is so translucent, so easy to wear, and it really cuts down shine. Like, it won't give you coverage, but it's really nice to apply, especially if you have oily skin. And that's one that doesn't break me out. I think a lot of times when I use mattifying powders, they can dry out my skin or irritate it and cause it to produce more oil, whereas I feel like the blot powder is just like a perfect product for me. So that's my review. Let me know what you think of these products, if you've used them as well. Thank you so much for watching the video. I'll see you guys in my next one.